All right, the first construction that I'm going to show you is copying a segment. So the first thing that we want to do is draw a segment that's longer than this one with our straight edge. Yes, I know it's a ruler, but you're not supposed to use the measurements that are on here when you are copying. So I'm going to draw. That's obviously longer than the one I'm copying. Okay. So this point right here, you can label, your instructions say to label it R. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to take my compass, and so this is going to measure, instead of measuring it with a ruler, this is going to actually measure the length of my segment. So I'm going to put the this point right here on A, and then I'm going to mark B. And before you do this, you want to make sure that your pencil and the point, the rotation point, are even, like that these line up. You don't want your pencil to be way up here. So they need to be level. So I'm going to put the sharp point on A, and then I'm going to close or open. I'm going to adjust the width of my compass so that it is the width of this segment. And then I'm just going to make a little arc mark right there to make sure that it's in the right place. And then I'm going to come down here to R and make that same arc mark right here. And it's easier to make the marks when you're not straight up and down. Sometimes it skips when you're straight up and down and you try to make that. So if you lean it just slightly, that makes a nice smooth mark. And then that tells us where to put S. So there's our segment, RS. Okay, and it's the instructions say to erase the excess. I actually don't have my students do that because it shows me part of their construction, but it says to erase it, so maybe do that or ask about that. I wouldn't erase it, but anyway. All right, next one. Construct an angle congruent to a given angle. So similar to our constructing the copying an angle. First, I'm going to start with a ray. Okay. And this is going to be DF, so I'm going to put D right here. All right, so I am going to put my compass on A, and what I need to do is draw an arc across, somewhere across this angle. So I don't want it to be super close to the vertex. I don't want it to be way out here interfering with those arrows. I want it to be somewhere in between. I'm just going to make one big arc across. You can make one here and one here, like two little marks, or you can just go all the way across. Okay? So I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I haven't changed the width of my compass. The width of my compass is important. I'm going to keep it the same, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make one big arc. And you want to make it big enough so that you don't have to come back and make it longer. All right, so just make it big the first time. And now I'm going to measure the opening of this angle over here. So what I did was I created two little intersections right here. And I created one intersection over here. I need to figure out where to put the other point so that we have the same measure angle. So I'm going to measure the width of this. So now I'm adjusting my compass, right? I'm going to set my compass width so that it is the same width as these 2 points right here. Right? See how that's going to make that point right there? I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make that same little mark right here. So that gives me a little X to show me where I should draw the other side of my angle, my other ray. So from D to this point right here. Arrow on the end because it's an angle. And then, let's see, it says to also put letters on here. So this is BAC, and this angle is EDF. So you want to label those points like that. Okay. All right. Next. Oh, these are just some additional. Man, I gotta copy a lot of angles. All right. Perpendicular bisector. So we are going to cut this in half, specifically at a 90-degree angle, right in the middle. So we can't just measure it and pick the middle. We have to use a compass to do this. So I'm going to start on A, and I'm going to open my compass so that I'm greater than halfway across this segment. So I know halfway is about right there from the looks of it, but I need to go past that, okay? And you don't want to accidentally go too close to half, because then more than likely you'll have to redo it. So just make sure you go more than half. We don't need to be way out here. You don't want to go as far as B. You don't want to go outside of B. Just, you know, a smidge more than half. Make sure you're definitely more than half. So I'm going to rotate down and up. I need a big arc. And you want to make sure you go past halfway. So like if this is halfway, I don't want to stop here. I got to go past that with this arc up and down. And then using that same width, I'm not going to change the width of my compass. I'm going to switch over to side B, and I'm going to do that same rotation. And remember to kind of tilt your compass to the side just a little bit and rotate. That way it's not straight up and down and it gets so skippy when you do that sometimes. And you're not putting a lot of pressure. Okay? I know some people want to like put pressure down on this to make it happen. It's just a gentle glide. You want to hold strong at this rotation point and make sure that doesn't move, but it doesn't take much to just rotate this with a little bit of pressure. Okay. All right, so now that we have that, this point right here and this point right here, that's going to give us our perpendicular bisector. So we just connect those 2 points. And because it's a perpendicular bisector, we want to mark it with a right angle and with tick marks on this side and this side, showing that we cut it in half. Okay. Okay, construct an isosceles triangle given the length of the base and the length of the sides. So I need to copy this base. All right, so I'm just going to put points on here so we can see what we're doing here. So actually, let me start with a segment or array line over here. Just I did it longer than the base because I'm going to have to mark this base. Let's see if it'll fit. All right. So, copying a segment, review from earlier, I'm going to mark this length right here so that I know my compass is this exact width. So that means that my base right here is going to be that long. There's my base, okay, which means I don't need this over here, okay, just using this piece right here. Now, an isosceles triangle is going to have congruent base angles, so I want to use this side length here, and I'm going to mark that on both sides. It's kind of like copying an angle. We're going to copy an angle on both sides, so it's the same exact angle. But where they intersect will give me that exact point that I need. So this length right here, this is the length of the side. So from this point, I'm going to make an arc up here. And then I'm going to switch sides. From this point, do this as well. Okay. And so I know the distance from here to here is the same as the distance from here to here, making it isosceles. And that makes these two angles congruent as well. So I'm going to connect this point, and this point, and this point, and this point. And there's my isosceles triangles with isosceles triangle with congruent base angles. Okay. All right, Next one you've got is construct a triangle given 3 side lengths. All right, so we'll start off side 1. Definitely didn't need it to be that long, goodness. All right. So side 1 is going to be this long, so I'm going to copy that segment, set my compass length, okay. Copy that down here. Okay. Then my next side, okay, for this one I'm going to have to make it kind of big because I don't know where these are going to intersect. And this side, so just copy, copy, copy. And see, I didn't make it big enough. Darn, because you don't know what the angles are going to be. So now I got to go back. That's what I was talking about earlier. If you don't make it big enough, you got to go back. And here I am, having to go back. Make this one bigger. Now I can see where they intersect. Right there. Okay. So we've got our side 1. This was side 1. Our length for side 2 is going to go to this intersection. Well, it would help if I lined it up. Okay. All right, that was side 2. And then this is our side 3. There we go. And again, I would not erase the construction marks. As a teacher who would be grading this, I would be looking for those construction marks, so you really don't want to erase those. Okay, construct an angle bisector. All right, so for this one, what we're going to do is draw an arc across the whole angle. You can either, like copy in an angle, you can either make an arc, little arc here and a little arc here, or while you're at it, just go across the whole thing. Okay. Now I'm going to, let's see, this specifically says to label these B and C. So we'll label them B and C. All right, so my compass is set, right? At this width, I'm not going to, well, no, I can change it at this point. Sorry. I did an arc across the whole thing, right? So now I'm going to go to B, okay? And out in the middle here, somewhere, right? You don't want to be like scrunched up. It's got to be kind of like earlier when we were doing perpendicular bisector, you had to be more than halfway across. You want to be more than halfway across the angle. So the angle bisector is going to go through here somewhere. So we want to make sure you're out more than halfway. Okay, so I'm going to make a little arc out here and then not change my compass width at this point. Go over to C and draw a same arc the same distance away from C. And then that intersection is the exact middle of this angle. So now I'm just going to connect A through that point, make an array there, and this is Q. And there you go. So now we have an angle bisector. These two angles are congruent because that just cut that angle in half. All right, parallel lines. So our construction for this, we're constructing a line parallel to line M that contains point X. So it has to go through X here, and it has to be kind of parallel, not kind of, but exactly parallel to this one. And we can't just randomly do that, right? Like I can't just say, oh, that looks parallel right there and just call it a day. We have to actually do the construction, okay? So I am going to put a point on this line. So just stick it on here. This is A. All right, so I've got to draw a line through A and X. You just don't want to put A right below X. I like to have it at an angle. Okay. All right, so now I am going to draw an arc. We're kind of going to copy an angle at this point. I'm going to put my compass on A. And I'm going to draw an arc right here. And then I'm going to go up to X. And I'm going to draw that same arc right here. And now I'm going to measure the opening of this angle. I'm going to turn this. Sometimes you got to turn your constructions. So it intersected this line here, and it intersected right here. So I'm measuring that width right there. And I'm going to make that same mark right here. And let's see, this specifically says to label this as T. Label intersection point B with line M. This is B. This is R. This is T. And Q. There. Okay. So we didn't really need all those labels, but nonetheless, if I draw a line through X and R, that makes a line that's parallel to my original line. There we go. So these are parallel. Put that arrow backwards. Okay. What else do we have? That's the same problems. All right, perpendiculars given a point on the line. Okay, so if we have a point on the line, then we need to make some marks around A to use for this construction. So I'm going to put my compass on A. And I can't make it too wide because I can't be out here. It needs to actually cross the line. So we're going to have kind of a small width here. But I'm going to make an arc on both sides. Whoops. Okay. Now from each of those distances that are the same distance away from A, I am going to open my compass, and I need to be greater than half that length. So they're calling this C and D, the two marks that we just made around A. And now from here, it's just the same perpendicular bisector that we did before. This is just going to go through A. So I'm going to open my compass more than halfway, make a mark above and below, and then from C, also make a mark above and below. And then all three of these should line up. There we go. So that's perpendicular right there. Okay. And then the last one is perpendicular given a point not on the line. So if P is up here rather than being on the line, we still kind of do the same thing, but we're going to make sure our compass, my pencil has moved up. I need to adjust my pencil. So see how my pencil is has scooted up a little bit. That happens, okay? I'm going to just align these up again at the bottom and tighten this back up. It's been scooting up on me. All right. So I'm going to put my sharp point end on P. And then the 2 arcs that I'm going to make, and this sometimes it helps to turn your paper sideways on these. I'm going to make 2 arcs on this line. So your compass width should be open below the line. You just need to open it below the line, okay? And so, I mean, you can make it bigger. You can do them out here too, but you run out of space because you might run off the line. All right, so I just made it kind of small. Did it right here, right there, right there. Okay. But either way, that gives us 2 little intersections right here and right here. It says to call those A and B. And now we do the same thing. So I'm going to go from B. I'm going to open my compass more than halfway across AB, and AB is pretty short, so I'm going to do it almost all the way across. And then I'm going to make an arc down below, and I'm going to switch sides and do another one down below. So now it's going to go through P and this intersection that we just created. That's my perpendicular. Make sure you put arrows on it and a right angle box. All right, I think that's all of them. The rest of them are just additional practice problems.